Imagine a place so remote, so untouched by the millions of travelers flooding Japan every year that 99.9% of tourists will never step foot here. A place not in Tokyo, not in Kyoto, and not on the typical bullet train bullet list, but deep in the misty mountains where time moves slower. Rice fields reflect the sky, and ancient traditions still breathe in the air. Today, we're taking you inside one of Japan's most hidden mountain villages, so hidden that even many Japanese people haven't heard of it, let alone foreigners crossing the globe. We're talking snow-covered rooftops in winter, lush emerald rice terraces in summer, and a way of life that feels like stepping back centuries. Strap in. This is a journey far off the beaten path. When most people think of Japan, they picture dazzling cityscapes, bullet trains, bustling markets, and ancient temples, all incredible in their own right. But there's a whole other Japan, one tucked away high in the mountains, where roads wind like ribbons through forests, and the only traffic jams are deer wandering across the narrow paths. Japan's countryside is vast, and within it are villages that have thrived for hundreds of years, largely isolated from mass tourism. In these places, the rhythm of life is dictated by seasons, not schedules, and neighbors greet each other by name rather than profile picture. And yet, almost no travelers know these places exist. Today, we're exploring one such village. Let's call it Takashinamura, a fictional name representing Ryo hidden settlements like those deep in Nagano, Gifu, or Shikoku's Aya Valley. This village is nestled in a valley surrounded by towering peaks, accessible only by winding mountain roads and walking trails. You won't find it on any mainstream tour itinerary, and almost no buses or taxis run here. So why does this place still exist, and why are so few people visiting? Our journey starts far from any crowded station platform. To reach this hidden village, we had to take a local train from a regional hub, not the Shinkansen, but the kind of rattling old line that stops at every sleepy station along the way. From there, we switched to a tiny bus that carried more rice bags than tourists. As the asphalt thinned and the road narrowed, the houses became sparser and the valley walls closed in. The scent of cedar grew stronger, and the hum of urban life faded. After the bus let us off at the final stop, we walked. Not long after, the road ended and the trail began, a steep, mossy path leading deeper into the mountains. On either side, ancient cedar trees arched overhead, their trunks thick with age. At times, the sunlight barely pierced the canopy, turning the path into a cathedral of green. A few locals waved as they passed, farmers carrying tools, children heading to school, but for the most part, it was just us and the sound of our footsteps. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't easy, but it was real. After what felt like hours of climbing, the trees suddenly parted and we descended into a field of rice paddies that seemed to shimmer under the mountain sun. In the distance lay the village, a cluster of traditional thatched roof homes sitting peacefully beside a slow river, smoke curling gently from chimneys. The air was crisp, the silence profound. This wasn't a set built for postcards, it was living history. Most visitors to Japan will see shrines and castles. A few might venture to historic towns like Takayama or Shirakawa-go. But even those places get thousands of visitors every year. Here, on a random weekday morning, we met only a handful of people, farmers, elders, a couple of kids playing near the river. It felt like we had discovered a secret no one was meant to find. The houses here aren't empty museums, they're homes. Families still cook meals in hearths, hang laundry to dry outside, and tend to fields that have fed generations. The culture of rural Japan. So why don't tourists come here? The answer is simple: accessibility. Japan's tourism infrastructure focuses on cities, temples, cherry blossoms, bullet trains, and UNESCO sites.
Few guidebooks mention places like Takashinamura. Google Maps might show it, but it doesn't highlight the breathtaking views, the local soba noodles made with mountain water, and the elders eager to share stories. And yet, hidden villages like this are where you can see something rare, authentic Japanese rural life, unfiltered and uninterrupted. In modern Japan, rural depopulation is a real issue. Young people often leave for cities, leaving behind an aging population. Some mountain villages shrink year after year, their schools closing and houses standing empty. But in some pockets, these villages endure, preserved by tradition, community spirit, and a deep connection to the land. And here's something remarkable. Despite being so remote, the villagers were welcoming, not in a tourist-trained way, but in a genuine, human way. They offered us tea. They asked where we were from. Some asked if we needed help finding a place to rest. When you meet someone here, it's not just a photo op, it's a connection. We met an elderly couple named Mr. and Mr. Yamamoto, pseudonyms for privacy. They've lived here all their lives, over 70 years, and have seen the village change slowly over decades. They told us how once this path was the only way in and out, how children walked miles to school, how festivals were the heart of their calendar. What we have here may not be big, but it is ours, Mrs. Yamamoto said, and in her eyes that pride was unmistakable.
They invited us into their home, a low wooden house with tatami mats, a hearth, and shelves full of handmade pottery. They served us rice and miso soup, topped with fresh mountain vegetables. The flavors were simple, pure, the kind food tastes when seasons matter. One of the first things you notice about villages like this is the architecture. The roofs are steeply pitched, designed to shed snow and rain. Many homes are centuries old, built from local timber and stone. Each house has a story. Each ridge beam was cut by hand. This isn't tourist attraction architecture. It's functional, resilient, shaped by climate and community. Surrounding these homes are terraced fields, waterways for irrigation, and forests that provide timber and mushrooms. In spring and summer, the rice paddies turn neon green. In autumn, mountain fog rolls through, blanketing everything in mist. In winter, snow falls so heavily that the village sometimes becomes isolated for days. But that's the rhythm here, a choreography with nature itself. And speaking of the landscape, the mountains around are steep and dramatic, peaks rising like centuries-old sentinels. Trails fan out in every direction, some leading to neighboring hamlets, others to waterfall shrines hidden behind mossy boulders. Why 99.9% of tourists have never been here? So let's talk numbers. Japan hosts millions of international visitors each year, most of whom hit the highlights: Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Hiroshima, and maybe Hokkaido or Okinawa. But places like Takashinamura, they're not on the radar for most travelers. Here's why. First, accessibility. Reaching remote mountain villages usually requires trains, buses, hikes, or private vehicles. There are no tour buses pulling up with groups of 50. Second, infrastructure. These villages don't have fancy hotels, English-friendly menus, or flashy marketing budgets. What they do have is homes, local inns, minshuku, and family-run guest houses, where the hospitality is warm, but the reservations are usually in Japanese. Third, awareness. Few travel guides mention these places. Social media posts exist, but they haven't gone viral in a way that floodlights these spots with attention. And perhaps most importantly, authenticity. This isn't staged tourism, it's living culture, and living culture doesn't like crowds. As we spent more time here, we realized daily life in the village moves at a pace most urban visitors could find shockingly slow. Farmers wake before sunrise, children walk to school along forest paths, neighbors greet each other with nods and shared concerns about weather or rice harvests. The village center has a small shrine, a collection of stone lanterns, and community space where villagers gather for seasonal festivals. At night, the only lights are lanterns and stove fires. The stars here are astonishing, the Milky Way like a glowing river overhead. One evening, we joined a small gathering around a bonfire. Stories were shared about past winters, about villages lost to time, about hopes for the next generation. A young farmer spoke about how he chose to stay when so many left because this land is our story. Moments like these made it clear this community isn't a snapshot of the past, it's a living, breathing present. Food and flavor. Cuisine here is rooted in the land. Mountain vegetables, river fish, handcrafted noodles. One local specialty is soba, noodles made from buckwheat grown and milled right here. Served with a dipping sauce rich with mountain herbs, it's a taste you can't easily replicate anywhere else. Another staple is gohei mochi, skewered rice grilled with miso and sesame, smoky, sweet, and unforgettable. And let's not forget pickles, dozens of varieties preserved for winter, each a testament to seasonal wisdom passed down through generations. Every meal in this village wasn't just food, it was a lesson in patience, in terroir, in the intimate connection between people and the land that sustains them. The village calendar is tied to seasons: spring planting, summer growth, autumn harvest festivals, and winter solitude. Each season brings its own rituals and rhythms. In spring, villagers gather to celebrate new life, planting rice, preparing fields, welcoming longer days. In autumn, the harvest festival fills the air with music, dance, and shared feasts. In winter, villagers support each other through heavy snow, clearing paths and sharing warmth. These traditions aren't performances for tourists, they're life itself. So what does it mean to visit a place like this? It's not simply a photo backdrop, it's entering a world where tourism doesn't set the pace, where hospitality isn't commodified, where you need to slow down, listen, and observe. For travelers willing to step out of the comfort zone, places like this offer something rare: connection. Not just with a destination, but with people whose lives are woven into the landscape in ways we rarely see elsewhere. And when you leave, you don't just take photos, you carry a memory that changes how you think about travel, heritage, and the stories that make places feel alive. As we walked back along that winding trail, the sun dipping behind mountain peaks, we realized something profound. This isn't just a travel destination, it's a reminder that some of the most beautiful places on Earth aren't plastered on postcards. They're hidden in valleys, lived in quietly, and cherished by the few who call them home. And perhaps that's why 99.9% of tourists never visit here, because for most, the journey is too long, the path too uncertain, the comforts too basic. But for those who make the effort, what awaits is something truly unforgettable. If you ever have the chance to step off the well-worn trail and into the heart of rural Japan, take it, not for the views, but for the stories, the food, the people, and the sense that you've glimpsed a side of Japan almost no one else has. Thanks for traveling with us today. If you'd like to see more hidden corners of the world, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Until next time, keep exploring.